Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Richard Skipper celebrates the best in entertainment. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. What are you celebrating today? If this is your first time here, welcome. My show is all about celebrating life, celebrating art, celebrating artists. I believe there's a lot to celebrate if we only take the time to do so. And I am so very excited because today we are going to be celebrating Billy Gilman. And there is so much to celebrate with him. I'm going to be unraveling so much about him. If you think you know him, perhaps you do, perhaps you don't. We're going to be unraveling that onion today. But before I bring him on, I want to show those of you who think you know him, or those of you who don't, a little bit about what makes him tick, and then we will see him on the other side. Here he is.
People talk about the good life. Yeah, that sounds nice. I would never live a lie if it's not my truth. 'Cause you are the first in line. I'll give you all my time. I'm living a good life. I got you. And if you were here, everything would be falling in place. Take a look in the mirror and know that love will find a way. I've been wishing you were here. 'Cause you are the first in line. I'll give you all my time. I'm living a good life. I got you. I'm living the life.
And here he is, Billy Gilman. I want to begin, as I said, I believe in celebrating everything and every day. What are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating the fact that it is almost the end of October and it's 73 degrees. It's beautiful weather. I'm in the recording studio on a brand new song. As we speak, literally right now, I could turn, but I'm afraid the camera will go funny. Yeah, it's working and family's good, and it's so happy to get back to do concerts. The middle of this year, we finally got the green light to go back out and touch people and sing to people and, going back to normality. That's what I'm celebrating for sure.
I do want to say there's a little bit of a problem with your microphone, so you may want to sit a little bit closer to your microphone so that we can make sure that we're getting everything here.
Okay.
Now, we are very close to Halloween. Do you celebrate Halloween?
Oh, of course. I was just before I got to the studio, I was at the Halloween shop because I think there's some kind of a party that I've been told about tonight. So I don't know. My brain isn't even there, but I do celebrate it. It's fun.
Do you have a favorite Halloween that you remember, growing up? And we're going to talk a little bit about your childhood in a moment.
Yeah.
If you even had a childhood, because you've been working your entire life.
It's been crazy. It's been but you know what though, Richard? It was always my doing. If my parents suspected that I didn't want it anymore, I would have been pulled right out. It was always me pushing them. So it never felt like work. It felt like, okay, this is my path. Even at 8 years old, I guess. It's always just been what I've done forever, and it's what I intended on doing. It wasn't pushed on to me by some momager or anyone like that. It was always just organically me.
Now, I want to say, what is it about Rhode Island? I mean, Mike Rinzi, of course, we recently lost him, but we celebrated him earlier this week. Angela Bakari, who I know is very close to you,
Yes.
literally and figuratively. Nicholas King. What is it about Rhode Island that produces such great talent?
It's the water. You know, I don't know what's in the genes of Rhode Island, in the mix of Rhode Island, that creates a lot of talent, but there is a lot of it, and there's even more that you don't see. And that's why I always, like, if I'm doing concerts, and I always try to grab local musicians to work with me, because they're so fantastic and deserve that light. But I don't know. I mean, for me specifically, I mean, you get the beach, you get the city life. I grew up on a 40-acre horse farm, which is very country and rural. It's the best of everything. I'm back and forth to Nashville, and Nashville doesn't have ocean and all of that. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
true.
it's a little hidden gem. It really is. I mean, we're the smallest state with the biggest offering, I think.
And I've performed in Rhode Island, Theater by the Sea, Matunic, Rhode Island.
I love
So
Theater by the Sea.
shout out to them. Love it. Did you ever perform there?
No, never performed there yet. But it's a great place. I've been there a few times to see some productions. It's great.
Now, I want to go back to when that gift started with you. Tell me, first of all, about your parents. Did either of your parents have this gift as well? And do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one younger brother. He's 3.5 years younger than I am.
Okay.
And none of them, to my knowledge, were musical, unless they are, and they've never divulged that information. I kind of came out. I came from FedEx or something, because there's no one else. I mean, I think I remember hearing of some great uncles or great grandfather or grandmother playing violin or an instrument, so there was music around, but no one in the singing form, to my knowledge.
Now, did you start singing with records? Were you singing in church? Where did the singing begin for you?
So at 18 months old, I was in at the high chair thing, whatever, humming the Jeopardy theme. They have that on film. And yeah, I mean, at that age, it's like going to school. They pick your clothes, they pick the color of your backpack. Well, for me, the radio, it was whatever my parents had on, and that was country music. So I just started to sing, trying to think of the songs that were popular back. Pam Tillis, maybe it was Memphis, which was a humongous song. I would sing, and then I'd ask to go to the record store, and we'd buy the cassettes. Yes, cassettes. And yeah, so it was just so in me from the get-go. Every show and tell at preschool and kindergarten, kids would bring in their lucky baseball mitt, and I'd bring in a little Fisher-Price karaoke machine and sing them a couple of songs. I mean, it's just always been there. It's always been
Now,
there.
were you drawn towards country music? Was that the music that you were listening to predominantly? Was it because that was the kind of music that your parents were listening to? Where did that leaning or that bent come from?
A little bit of both, I think. I don't think. I mean, I don't know what I don't think I knew what I liked back then. It was just music, but I think if I had a yearning to continue to want to listen to a Garth Brooks or a Pam Tillis or a Patsy Cline, then it's something that I'm reacting to. It's not just being played because I don't have a say in what's to play and what's not to play at 5 years old. Yeah, I think I was drawn to it, as well as, being made to listen to it, if you will. I think it was a 50-50 thing, because I wanted to go by Pam Tillis's record and I wanted to hear more of her songs. So yeah, my love grew from just being around it, from my parents playing it on the radio.
Now, my guess is that Rhode Island is as far from country music as one could possibly get. So I want to know how the connection happened. It was Ray Benson, I think, who first discovered you. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. And
nationally. Yeah, there were a lot of
nationally.
local people that helped me get to that level.
Well, let's talk about that road that led you there. When did it start happening for you within the borders, let's say, of Rhode Island?
Yeah. So in class, in church choir, I was singing, and it was getting pretty big. Like, people were saying, "What's with this?" So people told me. And so my grandmother was very, my mother showed horses for 25 years, and because of my grandmother, she wanted her child to show horses. She had a love for horses, so her kid was going to do it. So she was kind of like a stage mom, but an equestrian life. She saw it, and she understood that I wasn't doing something that the other grandkids were doing. It was very different how I was using my vocal cords. And so she said, I just read the newspaper. I was 7.5, 8. And she said a local vocal coach just had a massive surgery. She's coming back. And I think I want to schedule an appointment with her. And my mother said, no, let him go to school. Do not do that. Well, yeah, she listened. No. We got in her car a week later, and it was Angela Beccari. And she took me on as a vocal student, and then soon became, literally co-manager. Taught me what to do and what not to do on stage. And then when she felt, working with me for a year or two, that I had enough in me to go out there and pull it off, we started to get an agent from Rhode Island and book locally, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, opening up for all kinds of different bigger acts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a private party in Connecticut, and a fellow that was on after me was in a very, very well-known band called Roomful of Blues. And I have to really rewind here. I don't like to talk about it all. And he said, I have a friend, and his name is Ray Benson from a very well-known band, Asleep at the Wheel, in the country music world. Would you be interested in doing a demo tape, putting it together? I'll send it to him, and maybe he'll do something with you. So we put the demo together, and about 2-3 weeks later, we got a phone call from Ray, and he said, I want to fly you down, and I want to do a few songs in my studio. And that's how it kind of started. But it was a lot of, we started to realize that I had to be pulled out of school because I was flunking. I had to be tutored. I couldn't keep up with the scheduling. I mean, there was a lot of hard work, not just I'm singing here and all of a sudden, bam, it happened. It was a good 4 or 5 years.
Well, I can say, it's a very tough business for an adult to be in this business. For a child to go into this business is, well, you don't even need to go there. I can't even imagine the trepidations for your parents who are not in this business, the concerns of your parents going into this business and not knowing really the people that are in the business. What were some of the concerns that your parents were dealing with? And of course, there were a lot of people in this business, let's face it, who are not necessarily looking out for your best interest. They may be looking out for their best interest.
Sure.
How do you maneuver as, you probably don't have the right answers yourself for this, more so than your parents. How do you maneuver those waters so early on in a career as a child entertainer?
First of all, I was very strange, meaning I was 30 at 8, and I worried like a 30-year-old. Like I worry now the same I worried then. It's just there's no more severity or no more nonchalance, aloof. I've always been concerned with everyone's understanding of this is my choice, and luckily the real answer comes. My parents grew up in a very small town, so you watch the news or whatever, or a music station or whatever, but really all that they have of gossip or information about the entertainment is on those rag magazines in the market.
That's right.
And it's all negative. So they were nervous. They were scared to death. What are we sending off our child to do? But at that time, I'd been working with Angela for 4 years or so, and she became like my second mom. And if it wasn't for her, I was not going to leave my brother or uproot him to travel with me and lose out on his identity. I wasn't going to do it. So when Ray Benson sent the demo tape, and I did a showcase with him in Nashville, and record labels got involved, and then Sony Music got involved, I knew, okay, here we go. So I sat my parents down and I said, I don't want you leaving Colin for me, and I don't want him being pulled out of any normality that comes his way. I have Angela, and luckily she obliged and said, yes, I will travel with you and give you my time as your second mom and harbor everything that needs to be kept safe, and you kept safe. And so fortunately for her, because of her, I was able to further my career outside of Rhode Island.
So you were surrounded by the right people at the right time very early on in your career.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a
They
major.
trickle in, but then they leave because the nucleus always just wanted me safe.
So all those people out there who are thinking that their kids can go into this business, that's the key right there. Being surrounded by the right people at the right time as you're starting. So 8 years old, this is all happening for you, but you really hit majorly big when you were 11 years old. So tell me about the years from 8 to 11 and what was happening between those years.
Yeah, it was just it was a growing. So 8, 9, 10, traveling, opening up. Now I'm opening up for like Martina McBride in the country music world, Marty Stewart. It was getting more attention. I've already started to do the demos with Ray at 9, 9.5, 10. I was flown to Nashville to do the Wild Horse Saloon, a performance with him. He called it a performance, but I now know it's called a showcase. Did that. The record labels came in, and I was signed to Sony, and we waited a year. No, November I signed with Sony of 99, and May of 2000, One Voice was released. So between November and May, it was the creation. It was kind of a fast artist development. Usually those take a long time. I knew of artists that were in artist development deals for 2 years.
And how did One Voice get to you? First of all, incredible recording. So how did that get to you?
So we were doing the record, my very first one, and they're pitching songs, and I would go into my, at that time, co-manager's office, and we would just listen to song upon song upon song, and then when it would hit, we'd go, okay, let's put that one in the pile. Put that. So you'd have about 20 songs, give or take. A couple of extras for like Walmart exclusives and Targets, and at that time Kmart. But 20 songs was usually the max, and you record them. Some don't really make what you thought in your head. Doesn't sound as right, so you ditch that one. So we had the whole CD done, and the first single was to be what is now my second single that we released, called Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be my first record. We get ready to wrap up.
Those lyrics are so haunting, by the way.
I know, right? I'm so proud that did as well as, it was the #1 video for 11 weeks. I'm so proud that, because to me, that is probably been a lot of songs in my life, but that's probably top 2 of my most favorite songs. I never get tired of singing it. I'm so grateful that I'm the catalyst for that message. It's just, I'm so proud that that's mine. Anyway, so we're getting ready to fold up the studio, fly home to Rhode Island, being in Nashville for weeks. And they fly in the studio and they go, we've got one more song, you're not leaving. And I went, okay. So they play it, and they said, this is in response and in the vein of Columbine's incident. And I went, oh, okay. Now, being 11 years old, you know the severity of Columbine, but you don't. I could be a parent now. It hits different than when you're 9 and 10. It's almost like when little kids were watching the World Trade Center. You get it, but you don't. So they played One Voice, and I looked at Angela, who of course was with me, and kind of gave her a look, because even then I knew what I liked and what I didn't like and what worked for me. I always had that innate sense. And so I looked at her, and she put her head down as if to say, don't do anything. So they play it, and they go, we're going to keep you for a few days, learn it, get the best you can do it, and we'll reconvene in a day or two. So I got in the car, and I just lost it. I hate this song. It's boring. They're killing my career before it even starts. And, oh, yeah, I was a nervous wreck. And
Oh, my God.
oh, yeah, totally. And she's like, Billy, they've been doing this longer than you. Trust them. So she calls them up, and I said, the bridge is boring. The bridge has got to change. It was supposed to go, till you find a way.
Anyone who's listening, remember he's 11 years old as this is happening. Yeah. I want to put this in perspective.
So I'm like, we got to get that bridge going. And so I said, we got to do something. And Angela calls her, and she goes, there needs to be a moment in the bridge. So they go, okay, we trust you. You're his vocal coach. Do your thing. So we go back, and that helped. When I was able to go, till you find a way, that helped me a little bit, because I always like those moments, because I know that kind of singing in male form separates me, especially in the country music form, and you want your own identity in any way that you can claim it. So I knew that the message was good. I just thought it was the most boring song ever. And wrapped it up. Sony made the decision. That's going to be the very first single. I do the music video. We do the photo shoots. And it went to #1. I was so happy I was wrong.
Oh my God. And, talk about the impact of that song, because all of a sudden you hit the Billboard Top 40. First time that an 11-year-old kid, first of all, had made that. You're in the Guinness Book of World Records. You're breaking records. You're breaking glass ceilings. You're doing everything. And you're becoming this sensation. Talk about all of this as an 11-year-old. All your dreams are coming true. This is the world that you truly want. It's all happening. So take us back to the feeling of all that.
I really can't remember those moments because I never wanted it for that. I wanted to sing. That's it. I could have cared less if I sold 50 million records or 50.
Good for you. That's great to hear that.
It wasn't, even at 33 years old, if I'm singing in front of 5,000 people, that makes the venue happy, or if I'm singing in front of 150 people. I love to know that someone's coming in there needing to hear a message. So that's never changed. It really honestly has not. And I learned a lot from Keith Urban, too, a country music artist. Yeah. He has that same feeling. It's just about the music. And whatever comes along the way is a perk. And, fortunately, there's been a lot of perks throughout the 20-something years of my career. But at that stage, I think I was more elated to sing at the Christmas parade at Disney with Mickey than I was selling 5 million records.
Well, I'm so thrilled to hear you say this. I want to ask you, when you're singing a song, when you're in the studio and you're singing in front of a microphone, are you thinking of a specific person? Are you singing to, obviously you've got a scenario going through, and I know that Angela is a brilliant coach. I know she's listening. She's a brilliant coach, but what is it where are you reaching to, especially as an 11-year-old kid, to find what you found with that song, to be able to reach the depths that you found with that song?
Now, as I'm older, it can be of a certain person or a certain situation that I can go back to stem that sting or stem that happiness or stem that whatever. At that age, honestly, Richard, what I would do is I knew that, for instance, Oklahoma, I'll give that example because we've been talking about it already. I knew that I came from a great family. Every family has their quirks, but I come from a great family. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what it was like to go from foster care to foster home, to being a rambling rose, not knowing where you belonged kind of deal. So what I did was I would be in the studio and I would just close my eyes and I would pretend I was in school, and I remembered the sad kids that I always tried to sit at my table. Because I was always the kid that was just, I'd sit alone and the circle would just start because I loved everybody. And I would always see the problem, the little kid that was a little chubbier or a little taller or funky or whatever. And I would befriend them. And because I wanted to know that they were okay. You know what I mean? So I always would just draw back to my days in school and go, okay, remember that kid named Adam that was so sad? And those kind of moments would help me draw it out. Or I would go, okay, imagine yourself sitting alone in an office building. You've never met your mom. You've never been able to buy a pair of shoes or ride a bicycle. Think of sadness like that, and that it would come out.
And as the song, that's amazing. Thank you for putting that out. As that song took off, and your career starts to take off, in your name, when was the moment for you when you felt that you had made it? Was there a specific moment? Or did you always feel that you were reaching for the brass ring? Now, I know you said recently, or just a few moments ago, that for you, it was about singing. But you also want a career. Everybody wants a career. Where do you fit in on on a scale from 1 to 10, as far as ambition is concerned? You have to want it. Let's face it. Where are you in terms of going after that brass ring?
Certain sides of me are 40, 1 out of 10, it's a 40, and sometimes it's a 9. Certain things are a 9 to me. It just depends on what section of it that I want the most. The majority is out of 10. The hunger is still there. It's always been there. I've never really fully felt like I've made it, because within the making, like, there's been moments of quiet where my voice changed. I'm sure we'll get to that, but there's been it's a peak and valley situation with any career. But even within the moments of mega, I never felt like I fit in. So there was always a trying of, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you. And so I never felt comfortable resting on my laurels of, wow, do you see that billboard over on I-95 with my name on it saying I went to #1? It never, there was always, I read the negative more than I read the positive. So there's always been that hunger. So I don't think I've never really felt like I've made it, even though in maybe some instances I did for a second.
I want to unwrap a couple of the things that you've just talked about just now.
Okay.
Let's first of all talk about that point in a young man's career, singing and the voice changes.
Oh, yes.
That first moment when you're in the studio and you go to hit that note and that screwy voice happens. It's happened to me as a singer as well. And that weird noise comes out. Take us back to that moment. Where were you, and what was that experience like for you?
I was on stage, and I think we were in Sacramento. We were on the West Coast. I remember that, or near the West Coast, put it that way, because there was brush fires. And I remember in the back of the bus, we sat, and it was like a line of orange where the fires were taking place. Memories, right? And it hurt. It never made that sound. I mean, it made that sound in the wells of a voice change. But in the beginning, it just felt like I had really done 75 shows in one day. It just felt that way. So I got on the bus and I said to Angela and the team that was surrounding me, I said, something felt different tonight. It hurt a little bit tonight. I mean, I'm hitting a high G over high C for Roy Orbison's Crying. On the Crying, I mean, I was hitting catastrophic, stratospheric notes. And it hurt. And so they stopped, and we went to Vanderbilt Voice Clinic. We visited Dr. Stephen Brown and a woman, I can't remember her name. They said, just by you speaking, we can tell that you're about to begin the stages of manhood. And unfortunately for you, it might not be pretty for a while. And I thought, oh no, not me. This is it's never going.
But where were you in the trajectory of your career at that point?
14, 15, late. My voice changed late, and I don't know if because of how much I use it and the extent I use it, it took a very long time. And then me, with my neuroses, think, oh, if I keep hitting that high F, it will never go away. Well, of course it's going away. It's Mother Nature. Yeah. You're growing up. And I almost ruined the voice. I had to go on voice rest twice for 6 weeks, not even a whisper. Because I almost did it in, thinking if I just repetitively hit these high notes, they'll come back. No. So it was scary, and it took a very, very long time. And then I'll never forget, I was 18, on the cusp of 19. Yeah. And I was sitting somewhere, and I was singing Over the Rainbow, sitting quietly, and it felt different. It felt like it was in high gear, or it didn't feel quirky like a voice change. And the damage part and recovering and all of that, it felt like, oh, this sounds different from the last few years. And but yeah, oddly enough, it just took a long time for my voice to fully change. It just did, to where I could use it. You know what I mean?
Did you take a sabbatical for any amount of time before you went back to work? And for how long did you take that time?
Oh, yeah. Well, so first of all, Sony didn't know how that was going to go, so we parted ways. At that time, I was very fortunate. It's funny how things work. I never stopped, put it that way. I just stopped concert life. Records would be bad because I would try and sing and it would get hoarse and I'd have to stop. It was just a mess. but luckily I was under Jerry Lewis's direction, and I was the national youth chairman for the muscular dystrophy. And I got to travel the world and work as Billy Gilman, but not really singing, but speaking to thousands of kids and corporations. And I raised about $2 million within those times
God
for
bless
the
you.
organization. And again, messenger, still along that same theme of what I love to do, being something other than me, giving back, So I was busy, just not doing what I loved, but sabbatical in a way, yes. And then I was signed to an independent label, getting back on my feet. But yeah, I did take a moment's rest, especially when I almost did a no-no with the vocal cords and singing wrong and
And
almost
and during that time, were you having any issues or anything with the industry itself? Were they giving you a hard time because of your vocal issues that you were having?
No, not that I know of. Maybe they were. I don't know. I know that Sony was concerned, is it going to come back? Okay, we need to move on to the next thing. Rather than, we're going to wait. We're here for you. Don't worry. We're your home. No. So they could have, as far as I know, to my face, no. But I'm sure there were conversations.
So I want to talk about the road back. I mean, you've masterminded this entire return to singing. You even re-recorded One Voice, also phenomenal, with a whole new feeling to the song. Why did you decide to return to that song? Let's start there.
Well, it would have been re-released anyway because it was its 20th anniversary. I'm big on that kind of thing, and a lot of artists are doing re-recordings of songs that are of a certain age or an anniversary. But honestly, so in my 20s, I didn't know if I wanted to be in front anymore. I wasn't sure because I had such a strong sense of fearless mentality of conviction of, no matter what, as long as I open my mouth, I will win them over. It's just how it's always been since 5 years old, right? Then the voice change happened, and there were many times I'd try and sing, and it was awful. And I'm the first to draw out, and I'm not one to, rose-colored glasses do not, I don't believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. It was very, very bad. And so that, stage fright and the assurity was gone. And so I didn't know if I wanted to, why put myself there?
Did the stage fright come out of the voice change?
Yeah, it did. The voice change, and I forgot 2 songs in a show lyrics. And because I want to be perfect for everyone, it wasn't pretty. I freaked out. So yeah, stage fright happened later rather than earlier on in life, because I was stripped of my assurance on just knowing that I can open my mouth and this is what's going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that the stage fright came out. So I didn't know if I wanted to do that. So I went to Nashville and lived and, went into the studio and learned how to touch buttons and sit with the engineers and, publishing company and write songs. I've written about 175 songs since 25 to now-ish. So I just wanted to know that life other than just being the voice and the smiling child or the smiling young adult. I wanted to know people. And when I walked into Logan's in Nashville, the restaurant, and I see Tommy Lee James, a songwriter, and I see Brett Roberts, the producer, I want to go up to them and know that it's a thing. It's not just I show up, I sing, I leave. And that was the best. And a lot of my sensibility and who I am and all of that came from that time and that songwriting and that soul searching. And it was a wonderful time. And then right around that time, Angela called me and said, I got this idea that actually this company came to me and asked if you would be interested in being a part of their show. And I went, what is it? And she said, it's The Voice. I said, no, do not want to do that. I was 12 years old and I made it on my own. I want to make it on my own again, right? And so I said no for it was 2 years, 4 seasons. I said no, but it just kept coming back. And finally at 25, I said, you know what? you're old enough to know that opportunities like this never come around more than once. And if they're still asking for you, there's got to be a higher power forming a path for you. There's just no way these opportunities continually come. That's why we have regrets. It comes, you say no, and you should have done it, you know? So I had a few meetings with some people that I had worked with, past managers, past agents, record execs, and they all literally, oddly enough, said the same sentence on their own. They weren't all together in the meeting. I did meetings on one by one. And they all said, what have you got to lose? Literally, almost everyone said that same sentence. So I jumped in, and I, again, like one voice, I was glad I was wrong, because we went all the way to the finale. And that was such a fantastic resurgence. So many fans didn't know who I was, who was Billy Gilman, and so many fans who wondered where you were. So it was a good thing for me to do, and that's why One Voice, you know, I got together with Home Free and did this fantastic version of One Voice because of people seeing me out there again, you know. So a lot of the news stems from the opportunity of The Voice, for sure.
Well, let's talk about the impact of that and how that changed. Once again, I talk about these paths that people go down, these forks in the road. You did eventually say yes, and how that changed the trajectory of your life. Let's go there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Who knows? You know, I'm on the path that it's led me to now. I don't know who knows where I would be if I said no again and they never asked. I have no idea.
And Adam Lambert and Miley Cyrus fighting over you.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I babysat Miley when she was 5 years old. Billy Ray and I were on a co-bill together in Miami, and yeah, she was 5. I told her, I said, I've literally known you since you were a baby. Funny, right? And here I am, only 26 years old. Odd.
Well, life has these funny ways of playing tricks on us.
It certainly does. Well, and the thought too, Richard, was I didn't want to go on and have them just make a mockery out of me. When I started to really think, okay, I'm going to do The Voice, I did some homework. I wanted to see if there were any other people on the show years past that had past success that came on, and there were. And all it alluded to was we wanted the name for the ratings in the beginning, and then no chairs turned. It was just for that initial hit of ratings, and then that person got on the stage, and there was a buildup of ratings, and then no one turned, and then they went away. That's what I thought was going to happen, because I saw it on, you know,
four chairs turned.
Fortunately, so loving country music, loving everything, I knew my voice could do more than that. Not to say I don't love country music, whatever, but I knew if this would be like Leanne Rimes when she did the movie Coyote Ugly and she went pop for a minute. I knew that this was my chance. I had no record label. I had whatever. I was on my own in a way. I could do songs. It's not going to make or break me, but I want to let people know every Monday and Tuesday what this voice can do to its fullest potential. And so it gave me a great chance just to let go and sing songs that I would never sing. Adele, I would never sing Adele or Celine Dion, but I love them and I know my voice is capable of doing them. So it was a great time for me just to sing, you know, and let it rip. Like Secretariat, you let him run his race. It was my race to run. And if America, I said to myself, if I find myself in the song and my heart in the song, that's the only way America's going to believe that this is real. And I just tried to find the best songs week after week that would touch me and America. And I think I did it because they kept voting.
Now, we are hopefully coming out of COVID. Where were you when everything started shutting down as far as the work that you're doing?
Yeah.
I know that you're about to play the Raz Room.
Yeah.
That's coming up. What night are you there, by the way?
I am there Friday, October 29th. Is that a Friday? I think it's a Friday.
Yeah. You got to
Friday, October 29th.
In the Hamptons that weekend. I'd love to be there, but you got to come back. It's a great room to play, by the way.
Is it? I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a great room. But what was your schedule like when everything started to shut down? And when did you first start hearing about this thing called COVID?
So I lost projectively about 110 shows. So a whole year of work. I mean, consistent, you know, concerts. Because now after The Voice and my voice is strong and, you know, I'm an adult and everything's great, you know, touring is great. You know, it's fun. I mean, to me, if I'm singing in a stadium of 10,000, or if it's a beautiful club like the Raz for 200, it's work. It's great. It's pushing the path forward. And I was always so scared as a kid. Now this was a scared, not on myself, but I was always so nervous of little rooms. When I could see the whites of their eyes, are they liking me? Are they not liking me? So that's why I loved the bigger shows, because you'd have so many spotlights on you. It was literally like this. That's all you saw. And so you could make up your own, as long as you're hearing applause, you could make up your own scenario.
I want to ask you, do you prefer that? Do you prefer not being able to see the faces?
Not now. That was before. Now I've done so many rooms now where people had no idea that's fun. I've always had that career where people went in knowing what they were in for, because they knew they bought the record. Now, being in it for so long, there's going to be people that have no idea. And to win them over is fun for me now, because I'm back to where I was at 10 and 11, sure of my voice and sure of what I can do. So it's fun for me to be in front of that close proximity of people now. As I hated it when I was younger. I got so nervous. Are they going to like me or not? But now I love it. It's like, I'm going to win you over if you don't know. So it's fun. But I was actually on a cruise, a corporate deal. They asked me to be the headliner, and we were on the boat, and people were talking about this mysterious illness. And this was late February-ish. And I'm like, oh boy, well, that's not going to be anything. It'll be fun. And then I was in Indiana in March of 2020. And that's when really the stuff hit the fan. And I got home. I mean, it was at such the heightened moment. I didn't know if I was getting out of the airport, because everything was just shutting down. And I thought, I got to get home. So got home, and then of course lockdown, and everyone just stopped. And Richard, it was so sad because, and I still say this to this day, I know, hope, God willing, we're on the better path and it's going to continue to move forward. No variants, no this, no that. But at the moment, America needed performing the most, to sit in a room and forget about the worries. That was the worst thing to do, was be with people. And what a terrible thing, and I tried to look for silver linings within it. My Facebook, my followings, for instance, for one instance, my Facebook was at 62,000 followers, and we're right around 300,000 now because I would do virtual concerts every Friday night. It's fun, and I know that there were people that were dancing in their living rooms, but without an applause and really feeling, it was such a strange time, but it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. And you just find the silver linings,
Well, let me ask you this. You're very young still. I've got a few years on you, but the moment that you started in this career to this moment, the business has still changed a lot. What are some of the things that you love about things that have changed in the business? And what are some of the things that you still resist that have changed since you've started in the business?
I'll say right off the top of my head, the one thing that I resist that people they're like, you are just ridiculous to think that you shouldn't do it, is TikTok. That's
Are
technology.
you on
I
TikTok?
don't do it, accept, but I resist a little bit. But watch me next week have a TikTok. The one thing that I love now that it wasn't so, the only way when I was starting out to reach fans were through chat rooms. So People Magazine with MSN or Yahoo, you'd get in these chat rooms and you'd be on the phone, and there'd be I wouldn't call him a stenographer, but it was like that. They were typing on your behalf and collecting the data, sending it to the computers, right? It was a very weird thing, but it was chat rooms.
I remember that, and it seems like it was 100 years ago.
Right? So
Yeah.
those were big when I was around, and we would crash them. I mean, there'd be 70,000 people, and it would crash, and we'd have to do it again, and it was just nuts, right? I love the fact with technology and the furtherment of careers that I can touch my fans instantly. I can address them instantly. There were rumors when I was a child and a teenager and a young adult, all through my career, really, that I could have addressed and knocked down immediately. I mean, we were in National Enquirer for money issues, saying my parents were stealing. It was atrocious, right? And those all could have been negated immediately, chopped at the knees if we had these platforms, which I love that factor about it. about the newer life of music and careers. But there are some things I resist, but there's not many. I'm open to a lot to make things better and to round it out, if you will, I guess.
Well, I
don't
mean,
resist too
social
much.
media, especially Facebook, has been in the news a lot lately. Are you a big fan of social media? Do you embrace it? Do you keep it at arm's length? Where do you fit in on all of this?
I I I like it. I'm a nosy person as a rule. So, uh, boy, that's something people don't know about me. Um,
They do now.
well, so listen, it's not my fault. Okay, all of my uncles are policemen, detectives, all these things. So I was just trained to watch and observe everything, especially with a career. It really went into high gear. But I like social media. I don't mind it. I don't like when I'm pressed to do something. That is when I don't like it. I'm going to do it when I want to do it. And sometimes you have no choice. If you have to react or do something at the moment. That I don't. I want to do it on my time. But it doesn't always work that way. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Pam Tillis. I mean, you sing her music. I mean, what
Yeah.
is it about her music? I'm a huge fan of Pam Tillis. Uh, but what is it about her music that resonates so much with you?
I honestly don't know, but I was 4 years old, 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly. And my parents had the rabbit ears, and you'd click the little thing to click onto the station, and we only had a few. And ABC or one of those NBC affiliate stations was doing a 20-year anniversary or 10-year anniversary. I don't know how old SeaWorld is, but it was a celebration of SeaWorld. And they thought, oh, he's a kid, he'll love the dolphins and the whales and the this and the that. Well, Pam Tillis was one of the guest singers, and that was it. I can still see her with her blue guitar singing whatever song, and I was hooked. I don't know why. Um, her voice was just piercing and beautiful, and her stories, although I didn't really pay attention to stories at 6 years old, um, especially about cheating and drinking. um, but I loved her, and my mother. That was the one thing my mom did do. She allowed me to love her. We got her fan club. She was my first concert at 5 years old. I ran backstage, let go of my mother's hand, ran right for Pam, and there's a picture of her picking me up in her arms. I mean, she's just always been there. And funny enough, it's just weird. So 5 years old was at my first show in Connecticut. I saw her. Then I saw her again at 7. And I saw her again at 9. And then at 11, I saw her again, but it was at the ACM Awards when I was making my debut. And I went, hi, Pam, you might not remember me, but I'm Billy Gilman from Rhode Island, and I follow you. She goes, you're the little boy with my shirt. And in the big picture. And what she meant by big picture was one of the last times I saw her before my career started taking off, my mother had blown up a picture of her and I singing together, and she signed it. And it was a huge poster of a picture. And she said, you're the big picture kid. And I went, yeah. So fast forward, 11 years old, the ACM Awards, we see each other. She was shocked and so proud that I've come that far. About 7-8 months after that, I was making my debut on the Grand Ole Opry stage, very prolific in country music. Patsy Cline is a piece of the wood of the original stage. I was making my debut, and the same night, Pam Tillis was being inducted into the Hall of the membership of the Grand Ole Opry, which is a big deal. I mean, what are the odds, right? Just so funny how the world works like that. So we've kind of had many milestones together.
That's incredible. And so,
Yeah.
so what's next for you? I know that you're going to be at the Raz Room.
Yeah.
For anyone who's anywhere in the area, it's in New Hope, Pennsylvania. RRAZZ Room. You can go to their website. I will put that information in the body of the details on my YouTube channel, so that you'll be able to find that as well. Just click on the link that I will put there. Get tickets, and go and have a great time. But what's next after that? Are you going to put together a tour? Are you going to go around the country?
Yep. Collaborating with my agents. We just signed with a new agent about a few weeks ago. Very exciting. And they have, concerts are normal for me. I mean, we already have a number of them on the books. Radius clauses. You got to wait to release the we're going to be in Texas, and then we're going to be wherever. So more concert dates, especially now that things are getting more and more back to normal and people can be in the seats. But the agency also has a TV wing of their departments.
And I know that you're in the studio today as well.
Yeah, in the studio, we're recording new songs, which is very exciting. This one in particular, we're doing a few songs, but this one today is very, very special and strong. And so, yeah, continuing the music, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to 2022. I think it's going to be a great year. I really do.
Well, will you promise me that you'll come back and sit with me when you have something to bring back here?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I'd be honored.
Oh, great. Now, I always like to end my shows. One of my favorite shows on TV was Inside the Actor's Studio.
Me too. James Lipton.
James Lipton, he always ended his show with his list of questions. I'm not going to steal his questions, but I've got some random questions I'm just going to throw at you just for the fun of it. And the first question
this is the fun part. Who wants to talk about me?
Yes. What is the best example of perfection that you can think of?
The best. Say it one more time. The best what?
Example of perfection that you can think of.
The best example of perfection was the best example of perfection, in my opinion, was May of 2018, sitting outside in a cafe in Paris, having an espresso and a traditional croissant. That was perfection.
That is perfection. I would agree with you.
And they are so different than what we get here.
And this is an interesting question. What would you most like more sympathy for?
Ooh. I think people are very fast to judge why you're not working harder at A or B or Z or what's the matter. Why the sympathy could be easier with you don't know the path that I've walked on as a child being thrown into a career. So the sympathy on that, I think, would be nicer, but whatever. But that's the first thing I think of offhand.
That's great. What is your favorite store in the world?
Well, I can say it. In my younger years, it was Tower Records. That's long gone. Oh my gosh, I would spend hours. And the one on Sunset in Los Angeles had all these Barbra Streisand artifacts. I mean, I am so straight. Anyway, Tower Records. I'm more of a cook, so like William Sonoma, Sir La La or Sir La Table. I love to cook.
I saw your Twitter with the cooking with the martini. So
yeah,
yes. What was your most disappointing experience on stage?
Ooh, disappointing. There's a lot to be disappointed. And a lot to not be disappointed. I'm trying to think off the cuff. Disappointing, not because of me, but I was at RFK Stadium in front of 50,000 people. Michael Jackson had done a tribute for the children who lost their loved ones at 9/11.
Oh.
And my track went out. And my voice was still going because that was live, but my music track went out in front of all these people. Disappointing. Another disappointing factor, I was doing a show with Ray Charles, and I was doing his song Hit the Road Jack. I forgot the words. I was going through the voice change. That was awfully disappointing. I walked away not feeling too good about that performance.
And I want the flip side of that. What was your most exciting experience on stage?
My most exciting. Maybe. I think there were two. I think singing My Way at the finale with the orchestra and how I flipped the song and started it off a cappella, such a different way of doing the song. And seeing the response from so many people around the world. I mean, I get cat calls, if you will, people screaming My Way in my shows if I don't do it. It's just amazing how in a younger generation that may not know the song just loves that rendition. So I like to be able to carry great songs on to generations. And then at the American Music Awards, that was my really first big dive into a pop thing. I was always at the Country Awards, CMAs, ACMs. This was my very first with like productions and fireworks and dancers and orchestras, and here I am All they have me in front of is a black curtain with black leather pants, black jacket. All you see is this blonde albino with all this black. And all I had was my one voice track. That's all I had. And I was the only one to receive a standing ovation because of how they ended the song. That was pretty, I was scared to death because Nelly, rapper, and NSYNC, and they're all sitting there in the audience. I'm going, I'm going to be booed faster than you can believe. But they liked it. And so I was pretty proud of that.
Well, I want to say I really love your arrangement of My Way. I was listening to it
Thank you.
earlier today. So really incredible.
Thanks.
What is the strongest opinion that you hold?
There's a lot. The strongest opinion, to be kind, is my opinion on kindness is pretty up there. I have no room for the about you factor. I can't stand that. It's a pretty strong opinion I have of others and of people and myself.
That's great. What is the most difficult problem that you've ever had to solve?
I hate math, so anything math. Topical.
You and me both.
Topical. Well, you know, and psychology. Doing that in high school, and psychology, there is a link to musicians and entertainment brains that have a strong disengagement with math. It's proven. So we're not wrong.
Well, that's
It's
interesting.
just our brains. But the hardest thing I've ever had to solve, there's many that are very strong and very tough in my life, but I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, there's a lot there.
When was the strongest that you ever had to be?
I think probably I think the strongest, looking at it in 33 years, was two things. Speaking at my grandmother's funeral, she was the one that got this all started. She was my best friend, and she was just the light of everyone's lives, and she was a go-getter. She owned her own company with my grandfather. She was that mindset, but the kindest, funniest, most giving person. I mean, I wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't because of her. Speaking and singing at her funeral was the hardest, and I probably, honestly, Richard, my coming out video was probably the scariest moment of my life, where I had to be the strongest and come up with a sincere thing where I thought I'm just going to keep this private. That was very tough for me, because I sing you a song, I would give you a great message, but you don't worry about me, I'm good. Don't care about my private life. And being in the entertainment world, it's just not so. Everyone wants to know you. So that was really a had to be strong moment. Yeah, probably the most.
Wow. Well, God bless you for that. What room of your home do you spend most time in?
Kitchen.
Okay.
Easy. Yeah.
And my last question is, where would you most like to be right now?
Disney World.
Wow. I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say your kitchen.
At a bar. No.
No.
Disney, maybe, I don't know. I would like to be, I mean, I'm in a great place right now. The studio, that is my home. I love to work in a studio where you don't have opinions or people looking up at you, because no matter what, I do a show, I know what people are wanting to hear. The big notes, the powerful messages, yes. But unfortunately, they want to hear those notes, and it scares me a little, because what if it's not there that night? And that's human. Here, you can be singing and creating and in your bathrobe if you wanted to. It's great. It's all about the music and not about the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, Billy, I am so thrilled that you said yes to me. I want to thank Angela as well. Angela, I know you're over there. So, yes, there she is over there somewhere. Angela, I love you so much.
I love you too, Richard.
Thank you for all you did to make this happen. I want to thank every single person who said yes to being here for both of us today. I know that I can speak for Billy when I say this. We don't take it for granted that you could have been anywhere else for the last hour. So thank you. If this was your first time here, I don't want to call you subscribers. Join the Skipper crew. Go on to my page, hit join the Skipper crew, and join us. My goal, my dream, my wish is to celebrate artists of all walks of life. Check out the over 300 people that I have celebrated on this channel. Check them out, not only Billy, but the ones that have done and the ones that are coming up. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list and reach out to the, let's say, the fourth person on your list. Reach out with a phone call, not an email message, not a text message, not a private message, not an inbox message, but a phone call. And let that person know what they mean to you. Because as a dear friend of mine says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to be out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. Now, remember these three things: comment, hit the like button, and then share. And you'll make both Billy and myself very happy. Now, Billy, I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon? Anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had? Or just any message that you want to put out to anyone who's watching right now? I want to thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world, the gifts that you will continue to give through your music, through your art, through your cooking, through all that you do. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here today. And don't worry about how to end the show. When you give the kiss goodbye, I will end the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much. And you too. Look what you've given so many wonderful people the opportunity to speak their piece. And you do it in such a way where we feel comfortable to open up and speak it correctly. So thank you. It's an amazing thing. We don't see that often in our interview world. So thank you. And to everyone, I so appreciate you tuning in and like Richard said, give him likes and shares and follows. That's how platforms grow. And I love a platform that is from the heart. You know what? If you know anything about me, it's go forward with a good heart, no matter what. There are sections of your life that are successful in different levels of each other. And as long as you go forward with a clear conscience and a kind heart, you know, this world is a really crazy place right now. And I even find myself getting overwhelmed in it. But like he said, call someone. It's a great diversion for yourself and all your own worries. Make sure someone else is okay. And we will get out of this, you know. We will be stronger together. I was coming home from 9/11, actually being in this New York City area and being stuck on the highway for so many hours. I saw the truth of America and the world, different ethnicities. They were opening their doors. You know, we weren't who we were. We were just people and humans. And we really need to get back to that. And I will try my hardest to pick songs, to pick situations that will always try and unite each and every one of us. And if we each can go forward and have that mentality, you know, we all want to change the world. But if we change ourselves on the inside, that's how we really change the world. So be safe. If you have to wear the mask, wear the mask. Do your best every day and know that that is good enough. Take care, everybody.